Peugeot's E-2008 delivers the full EV formula to the smallest segment of the SUV market, and in a trendy, very lifestyle-orientated package. It looks snappy, and in this revised form, thanks to a few tech updates, does up to 251 miles between charges. Plus, it has no practicality downsides over the combustion engine version and comes with monthly payment finance you could justify. In short, there's plenty to like. The tech spec here has been subtly finessed with this updated model, with the key improvement being the installation of a completely redesigned 54 kilowatt-hour battery, which has boosted EV range from 214 miles up to 251 miles. There's 18% more power for the electric motor it drives too, that output now up to 156 horsepower. The older 50 kilowatt-hour battery is still offered, paired as before to a 136 bhp electric motor and offering a 214-mile range. Either way, the electric motor works through the usual single-speed auto transmission you get with EVs. As usual with a battery-powered model, all the available torque is pretty much developed at once. There's 260 Newton meters of it, and this car simply hurls itself away from rest. It takes just a couple of seconds to crest the 30 mile an hour mark, and 62 miles an hour is reached in only 9.1 seconds, disguising the fact that, also like all EVs, this zero emissions variant has a bit of a weight problem. That drivetrain adds over 300 kilograms of bulk. On top of that, this model's latest 54 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery is still significantly smaller than the 64 kilowatt-hour one you'll find in, say, a Kia Niro EV or a Hyundai Kona Electric, which accounts for the fact that this French EV crossover can't travel quite as far on a single charge as those two rivals. Of course, you certainly won't achieve anything like the quoted level of operating capability if you get anywhere near this EV's quoted 93 mile an hour top speed, or if you habitually drive your E-2008 in the sport setting that'll be necessary to release the full 156 horsepower power output that we mentioned earlier. The quoted range figure will only be distantly possible if you instead engage a somewhat restrictive eco mode that drops power output right down to 83 horsepower. That's the setting you'll use in an E-2008 around town, an environment in which it makes a strange polyphonic sound at low speeds to warn unwary pedestrians of its impending approach. Above 18 miles an hour, all you can hear is a bit of tyre roar from the eco-moulded Michelin rubber. The all-electric E-2008 is pretty difficult to distinguish from what Peugeot calls its thermic combustion-powered models, though brand loyalists might spot this EV variant's colour-coded front grille, which has this exquisite detailing. There's also subtle e-badging, which you'll find here on the front wings. The car also features the latest Peugeot Lion badge on that grille. Otherwise, not too much is different about this revised model, which gains a slightly more dynamic-looking front end. There are subtle differences inside with this revised model, where the innovative iCockpit dash design, which sees you viewing the instrument gauges over the rim of the steering wheel rather than through it, has been updated, primarily with a fresh look for the 10-inch digital instrument cluster, which features a 3D display on this GT version. Now, all models get a 10-inch centre touchscreen as standard equipment. The steering wheel gets updated brand badging and houses buttons for the infotainment system as well as the voice control setup. Plus, there are plusher upholstery and dash fabrics used throughout, including a smart Alcantara option for this GT version. At the back, the cabin's pretty practical. Even with a 6-foot tall driver up front, someone of similar height could sit behind comfortably. There's a 434-litre boot with a false floor that can be repositioned to create additional space. The capacity is just like any other 2008 and extendable to 1,467 litres with the back seat 60/40 split folded. What about charging your E-2008? With a typical 7.4 kilowatt wall box in place in your garage, a full charge from empty will take 7.5 hours, or 4 3/4 hours with the optional 11 kilowatt onboard charger fitted. The car DC charges to 100 kilowatts. With a standard onboard charger and hooked up to a public 50 kilowatt rapid charger, the replenishment time to charge from 10 to 80% is 45 minutes. If you're fortunate enough to find a 100 kilowatt rapid charger, that falls to 27 minutes. At the other extreme, if you happen to be somewhere you can only charge from a domestic supply using an ordinary 3-pin plug and the optional 3-pin plug lead that costs extra with this car, the charging replenishment time would be a yawning 20 hours. You can see why someone might really like the idea of an E-2008, especially in this revised form. It has all the style of Peugeot's E-2008 Super Mini, but with a significant amount of extra practicality. It's considerably more stylish than similarly sized EV crossover rivals from Kia and Hyundai, but you've still really got to be bought into the whole idea of having an EV to want one. Even if you are, you've got to like quirky Peugeot innovations like the unusual iCockpit steering wheel and the 3D instrument setup. But we think cars like this one need design touches of that sort. Models of this kind ought to be fashionable, forward-thinking and just a little controversial. The E-2008 is. If you are too, and if you can afford to make the price jump to a full EV, we think you'll like it a lot.